Hello and welcome back to the channel. Discuss all things aviation. Angela Dube welcoming you back, aka the Flying Jurist. This is our monthly aviation digest. This is where we go around the world and look at so many bizarre, interesting and intriguing stories that we could come and bring to you on this channel. Some of the stories made news, some of them did not make news. So it's more of a rehash of what happened in the previous month in the world of aviation. Right, so we begin with what hits home. We know what's closer to heart. President Ramaphosa takes off from South Africa to go and attend some peace mission in Russia. But before that happens, he comes from Switzerland towards Poland and then onwards to Russia. His security detail, on the other hand, leaves South Africa directly to Poland. When they get there, the aircraft that is carrying the security detail and some journalists there is grounded in Poland for 26 hours. So rumor has it, on board that particular aircraft, of course, the security detail, they had weapons, but their papers were not correct. They were warned when they left South Africa that your papers are not in order, but I think inter-agency relations were not too good because the Presidential Protection Unit was like, we've got this, chill. But they definitely were not in control of the situation, as we all saw. 26 hours on the ground, on the air side, on the tarmac side, inside the aircraft, unable to leave the aircraft until they were able to be cleared to go back to South Africa. But they did not accompany the president to Russia. Now, you ask yourself, was the president left naked? Was he left unprotected at that level? No, not really, because a president cannot travel at that, in that fashion without some security detail. At best, what happened was that his security detail was thinner than it ought to have been. So that's one of the bizarre things that happened in the month of June in aviation. Now, the next incident involved a Gulf Stream in North Carolina in the US of A. It was involved in what's called a runway incursion. What are runway incursions? A runway incursion, it's a veer off or an overrun of the runway. It could be caused by either the runway surface itself or an unstable approach to the particular airport during landing. It can happen during takeoff or during landing. So the Gulf Stream actually veered off the runway and it was brought to a stop. So the pilot was able to control it on the grass, and you can see passengers walking off away safely from that particular landing. So that's the other bizarre thing that happened in aviation in the month of June. It's not the only isolated incident, but that's the one we were able to pick up from our sources. These happen almost daily across the world because there are so many airports and there are so many operations in the aviation sector happening at any given day, even as we speak right now, across the world. Number 3, this fella from United Airlines in the US seems like a fella who's not happy at his job, and look at what he's doing to the bags. A simple solution would have been for him to position another ground handling crew at the bottom to deal with those bags which are causing the clog up there, rather than mutilating people's bags the way he does. So for all of you who love, buying those Louis Vuitton bags, those expensive bags, just see there in that video how your bags are treated by airlines such as the United Airlines in the United States of America. So this aircraft, its nose gear, the landing gear at the front, the one that's a single one, the front, failed to extend upon landing at Charlotte Douglas International Airport in the US, approaching runway 36 left. That's what happened, and it landed with the nose gear, retracted. That's why you see in the pictures there, that particular incident, the aircraft is tapered towards the front. What's commendable in that incident, if you look at the visuals coming from that incident, is that the passengers understood this was an emergency and they left the aircraft without scaring to get their bags and stuff like that. We've seen many passengers ignoring the rules that they're given when they fly. That in the event of an emergency, take yourself out of the aircraft, leave the baggage. You can't be scaring around looking for your baggage because you're going to block other people. You're going to prevent other people from being rescued. If there's a fire, the aircraft can actually get into the point of explosion while you are looking for your bag, while you're preventing other people from exiting because of your so-called precious bag. I commend these passengers. Salute to them for not trying to drag their bags out, but saving the most important thing that matters, yourself, out of the aircraft. Woo! Big up to them. I have forgotten 2 things in an aircraft in my entire life. The first one was a cap, a very precious cap that I liked, and I forgot it in the seat where I was sitting. Yeah, by the time I got to the terminal, I knew my cap was gone. That was it. I dismissed it. I just released it. The second thing I forgot were my pair of glasses. Yes, prescription glasses. I remember getting to the pickup area and remembering my glasses are gone. But fortunately, I always carry a second pair of glasses. So I pulled those out and I used them. But those are 2 things I've left. This lady forgot her passport inside the aircraft. And of course, she gets to the terminal, she starts panicking. She talks to the airline staff and they talk to the crew in the aircraft. They check for it. And it looked like all was lost because the aircraft was beginning to push back to prepare for taxi and take off, which meant she could possibly not be able to see her or not be able to get her passport or to be processed at that particular airport. But as the aircraft was pushing back, the kind crew was able to open the cockpit window and throw this lady's pass to the ground handling crew, who then took it inside to give it to the lady. I bet the chief of the British tribe is not happy with her subject for forgetting her passport. It is what it is, but she got her passport back. All right, police at the OR Tambo International Airport arrested a fella flying from South Africa to Vietnam via Qatar. Why? He was carrying in his luggage the bones of a lion. Lion bones in some spaces are believed to make very strong medicine, very strong muti. You know, we have so many beliefs as different people, but he was taking this to Asia because lion bones there sell at a premium. But the good guys at OR Tambo were able to intercept that, and they found 2 passports on the guy and some foreign currency on him. And of course, he's in custody as we speak. We now leave everything to the hands of the South African justice system to deal with that smuggler of lion bones who endangers wildlife, who endangers the South African economy, who endangers the financial standing of South Africa in the international community. Big up to the boys and girls at OR Tambo. The aviation space needs to grow in Africa. We need to create more aviation awareness across the continent. So in Uganda, 20 to 24 June 2023 at Tambo International Airport, they held an aviation expo. I don't have much to report on in that regard. So if you have visuals from the Uganda Aviation Expo, hit us up. We would like to feature that in the Flying Jurist channel. So if you're watching from Uganda, or if you're from Uganda watching from wherever you are and you can get access to the visuals that we need, we'd like to tell this story. If you know someone that you can interview in this channel about your recent aviation expo, we would like to talk to you about it. Hit us up. Yeah, you can DM us. Our social media handles are available in the description below. We'll take it from there. We want information about expos, aviation expos, to be widely circulated across the African continent, because that's how we get the African child to be interested in aviation. It's been more than 100 years since the Titanic sank. And again, we tried as human beings. We don't learn. We don't learn from history. We built the Titanic, it sank, it moored us. Somebody built something called the Titan, a small submersible thing that went deep into the bowels of the sea, and it never came back. We never learn. But for aviation, here's the interesting story. During the search, aircraft overflying the area were given a message by ATC to say, please keep a lookout. You are now flying within the zone of the search. Please keep a lookout on the water. Tell us if you see anything that could assist in the search. You can see one of the messages right here that was received by a Boeing 737. We've all flown, and we sat and we looked across the emergency exit row, and we thought and we prayed, I hope the people sitting there are all mentally okay. We've had instances of passengers opening the emergency exit door while the aircraft is flying, exposing everyone to danger. It happened recently. You know, the Airlines, where the Airbus A321 had its door opened by a man who said, I was sitting there and I was suffocating. I wanted to get some fresh air. I just couldn't handle it. He opened the door and the aircraft was approaching to land 690 feet in the air. Very low. Anything could have happened. You could have upset the configuration of the aircraft because of him opening that particular door, and he could have caused a disaster for the people inside. He endangered all the other passengers, and you can see the police carrying him away here as he's arrested, detained to answer for his crimes. Again, in the US, another incident involving a 757 from Delta Airlines had the same, where a passenger opened the door as well, and as soon as the aircraft landed on the runway and pulled up, taxied to the parking bay, the fella was apprehended by the police and taken away to face his, to have his day in court and answer for his crimes. Last but not least, this video of a stowaway dropping from the landing gear, the wheel well of that particular aircraft, and taking her bags and running away is hilarious. It's until you realize it's staged. It's not a real video of a stowaway. You know, you can see her pretending to be relieved to have made it to that country where she was going to, and she's grabbing her bag and saying, "We made it," and she runs away. Typical stowaway story. But here's the thing: if she was a stowaway, yes, some people do survive as stowaways, but remember that wheel well is not pressurized, number one, which means the higher you go, the pressure that is needed by your lungs to take the proper amount of oxygen required by your body will become less and less and less. And at some point you will pass out. You will pass out, you will be unconscious. Secondly, the temperature above 36,000 feet is below minus 54 degrees. So at that level, you are slowly going to freeze. Your body will go into a frozen state because it is so cold, no matter how many jackets you're wearing while you're in there. So had that woman been a stowaway for real, she wouldn't have, jumped out of that wheel well and be able to, be fully operational, pull out her bag and run like that. It's obviously a staged incident, but it's hilarious. It's funny. My name is Angelo Dube, aka the Flying Jurist. I hope that was an engaging first episode of our monthly aviation digest. Please do click like, share, subscribe to the channel to help us grow, to help us bring more aviation content to the African child. Cheers.